It has been a politically newsy day today. From the opposition's meet where they declared Shiv Sena as their candidate for the presidential elections to BJP's parliamentary board, which will meet to decide on their candidate. And at the same time in Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde, he apparently has gone missing. Apparently, all of them are now, Shinde, along with a few MLAs from Shiv Sena, they are now lodged in a hotel in Surat that has already sent the entire MVA government in a tizzy. All this has happened today, and we have with us our political editor DK Singh to decode what does it mean not only for the MVA government, Shinde apparently who has gone missing with the MLAs, but what does it mean for the BJP? Is the BJP planning to do something? There are already speculation that the government may fall, but there is still no clarity as to what all is going to happen. So we have with us our political editor to decode all that for us in today's episode of Polygraph. Welcome to this edition.
Thanks.
Sir, the first question, what has happened? Just to have some clarity, are there 10 MLAs who have gone with Shinde? Are there 15 MLAs? Many reports are talking about it.
We don't have clarity because we are talking to somebody in Gujarat, a very senior BJP leader,
right,
who actually claimed that there are as many as 30 Shiv Sena MLAs in that Surat hotel.
Right.
But then I was again speaking to a very senior Congress leader just 5 minutes back, and he was claiming that the government is poised very delicately right now, but there may not be a big threat as of now because he's claiming that only a dozen MLAs are there with Eknath Shinde. So even the dozen will, if you start counting the numbers, it makes the survival very difficult, survival of the MVA government. Because you recall, yesterday in the MLC polls, 134 MLAs voted for the BJP candidates.
Right.
And as BJP leaders were telling later that, we have 106 MLAs. Then there were 7 other MLAs from among the smaller parties and independents, and 21 MLAs from the MVA, cross-voted.
Right.
Now, Congress sources confirm that as many as 7 MLAs did not vote the way the party wanted them. They had to vote for Handori, they did not vote. So 7 MLAs might have cross-voted from the Congress side. From the Shiv Sena side, again, both Shiv Sena candidates won. But after that, you have seen all that happening.
Right.
So you have to first ascertain, how many MLAs are there in Surat, how many MLAs are here, Shiv Sena MLAs. So in the afternoon when Uddhav Thackeray had called a meeting of the MLAs, our colleague in Mumbai, Purva Chitnis, was there.
Right.
And I was asking her how many MLAs she could count. She could barely count 10.
Okay.
So, but we don't know. Because again, Uddhav Thackeray has called a meeting at 7 o'clock. Let's see how many MLAs reach there. And Milind Navekar, Uddhav's, in fact, confidant,
right,
he just met Eknath Shinde in Surat. So what has happened there? What is Shinde's demand? We have to see. But the kind of posturing Shinde is doing, that's a bit ominous for the Shiv Sena because, he has already removed his Shiv Sena thing from his Twitter bio. And then he's talking about, how he'll never leave the path of Hindutva as propagated by, say, Bal Thackeray. So basically saying that Uddhav Thackeray is not doing that.
He tweeted that.
Yeah. But everything will depend on how many MLAs are there. For the BJP, it's difficult. See, BJP has learned some bitter lessons. We saw in 2019 again when Fadnavis, in a hurry, he got himself sworn in. In the early hours of the morning, with him was Ajit Pawar, and then how Sharad Pawar managed to bring Ajit Pawar and others back to the fold. So it was very embarrassing. Again, you saw in Rajasthan just 2 years back, when Sachin Pilot had kind of rebelled against Ashok Gehlot, was in Manesar with 18 MLAs, but the Congress managed to persuade them back.
Right.
So the BJP is playing very cautious and safe. It just wants to ascertain the number first. First, show me the numbers, and then we will make the next move.
Right.
Don't forget, if the BJP is just trying to pull the government down, it will be difficult. Because elections are 2 years away. And now, unlike, say, in Karnataka, where they got the support of 17 MLAs and they could go back and, they had 4 years to go. They could go back and contest again and get themselves re-elected. Here you have elections just 2 years away. And then we are talking about a big number. BJP has just 106. So right now the strength of the Maharashtra assembly is 287 because of the death of a Sena leader. And then 2 NCP ministers are in jail. So if you count the strength as 285, you need 143. If those NCP ministers are not allowed to vote, because the court did not allow them yesterday.
Nawab Malik and
So if it is 285, so let's say that you need 144 MLAs with you to get a majority in the assembly. But if BJP has to stake claim to form the government, you don't go with just one MLA more than a majority figure. You need a cushion of at least 10 MLAs, 15 MLAs. So we are talking about the shortage of about say 50 MLAs for the BJP.
Okay.
So there has to be a big rebellion. So if Shinde is sitting there just with a dozen MLAs, and many of them will start shifting unless they are sure that Shinde is able to split the party. And for that, to escape that anti-defection law, the splinter group will need 37 MLAs. Can Shinde manage that? There are many questions in there. I mean, we don't have clear answers yet.
Well, in the course of this live, we will also be taking questions from our viewers who have already, asked their questions. Aditya, who's also a member of our YouTube channel, he wants to know why this is happening just before presidential election. Any strategy behind BJP in respect of this?
Not for presidential election, because BJP is very comfortably placed. You might have read, if you have been watching our website, we have done some stories basically calculating the numbers for different parties in the electoral college. BJP is very comfortably placed. Say BJP in the presidential electoral college, BJP has about 48.5% of the votes. And then you add friendly parties like say YSRCP and BJD. They together make up about 7% votes. So the NDA candidate will easily win. So presidential election is not the issue here. But thing is, the Rajya Sabha and MLC polls actually expose the rift in the MVA. Because you have seen for the last 2.5 years, it has been a very, I would say, uninspiring leadership. You started as a bloc with full of contradictions in terms of your political and ideological objectives. So, from the beginning, MVA has been a bundle of contradictions. And then these polls happened.
Right.
And discontentment was already simmering in the Sena, even in the Congress. So Congress is of course rudderless. Sena, Uddhav Thackeray has been kind of, he has been a bit aloof. He has not really been that active. So that complacency has cost him, because can you imagine yesterday so many MLAs have left Maharashtra
and gone to Gujarat.
And late yesterday night I was talking to some Shiv Sena leaders, and we never got a sense that they had any idea. So that tells you this complacency, or I would say your inability to actually manage this kind of coalition in your own flock.
Right. Another question from Hitesh is, and he has two questions in fact, he wants to know, don't you think BJP is grooming good leaders for the future in Fadnavis and others? And the second, he wants to know, according to you, who will be the NDA candidate for presidential polls?
For the second question first, BJP Parliamentary Board is meeting as we speak here. So let's see if the board will, of course, they will reach some kind of consensus who the candidate, who the party's candidate will be. But then they may have to consult other NDA partners. So whether they will announce it this evening or later, that we'll have to see. So I don't have any answer for that as of now. And the first question is about grooming people like Fadnavis. I mean, you have to give it to the BJP. I mean, you have some brilliant strategists and mass leaders kind of emerging. Look at Himanta Biswa Sharma. Now you have Devendra Fadnavis, and he has been sitting there. He did not come to the center as a minister.
Right.
Even after losing the election, and after the embarrassing episode where he was sworn in and then within 80 hours he had to resign, he has kept at it, constantly targeting the MVA government there. And all these scams and revelations that he has been bringing, he has been there all the time.
And even the Rajya Sabha and MLC elections?
Yes. So you have to give it to the BJP leadership. I mean, the way they kind of groom their talent. They have a big talent pool now. They are mass leaders also. They are wonderful political strategists. And people who can actually bring down governments here and there.
Another question from Aditya is, you wanted to say something?
Please.
Aditya wants to know, can Shiv Sena make a compromise now and return to the Bharatiya Janata Party again to form government if they want to save their government after what all has happened, in the past between the two?
If you look at Eknath Shinde's tweet, where he's talking about, that I will never deviate from the path of Hindutva.
Right.
and I'll always remain kind of loyal to what Bal Thackeray taught us.
Yes.
And then he's talking about Anand Dighe.
Anand,
That
yes.
was a big man, I mean, late Anand Dighe actually. He's talking about their ideology. Basically, he's hinting, okay, so he's not going there to be seen and among the Shiv Sainiks that, okay, we are doing it to basically
Grab power.
grab power. They are trying to make it a kind of an ideological fight. That Shiv Sena is deviating from Hindutva, and so we are kind of forming a splinter group. And so what he is hinting, if you read between the lines, that okay, ally with the BJP, that is Hindutva, and abandon the so-called secular parties you are with, that is NCP in the Congress. So that seems to be Shinde's plan as of now. Whether Uddhav Thackeray will accept it, because look, the relationship between Uddhav and the BJP leadership has been very, very bitter. So for Uddhav Thackeray to kind of eat all those words and join hands with Devendra Fadnavis again looks highly unlikely. But if the BJP is able to, or if Shinde is able to mobilize enough MLAs with him to split the party and give enough numbers to the BJP, then probably Uddhav will be out and you will have a big chunk of Shiv Sena going with the BJP. But then you are asking for a big number. We are talking about 37 MLAs. As it is, it doesn't look so easy for Shinde either.
But why is Shinde upset? What are his concerns?
Look at this entire history. Shinde he's not a small man. He's a 4-term MLA. And he was a, Shiv Sena Shakha chief.
Right.
In Thane. He comes from Satara, but he was a Shiv Sena Shakha chief in 1980s in Thane. That was when, he got the patronage of Anand Dighe and all.
Okay.
And then from there onwards, he went on to become a corporator in Thane Municipal Corporation. I think 2 terms there. In 2004, he became an MLA. Then 4 consecutive terms he has won. So he's a big name. His son is also a Sena MP from Kalyan.
Right.
So he has been aspiring, and we have spoken about it. In fact, in your story, you have mentioned how, just recently, in fact, there's this big poster in Thane saying Eknath Shinde, the future chief minister. In fact, after the elections in 2019, when there were talks about who the next chief minister will be, then again you had many posters and banners in Thane, basically saying that he is going to be the chief minister. So his chief ministerial ambitions are open. I mean, everybody knows. But the way he has struck, because it was very interesting. Only last week, Adit Thackeray was in Ayodhya, and I was traveling there in UP. I was in Lucknow, and Eknath Shinde was kind of, buzzing around him all the time. You see him in every frame.
Right.
And suddenly you see this side of Shinde. So he does have ambitions, but does he have the numbers? And of course, I mean, you don't expect Fadnavis to, or the BJP to prop up another splinter group there. So Eknath Shinde cannot expect to be Kumaraswamy. He may have ambitions. So what the best he can do is to split the Sena now and keep working. Trying to be the alternate to the real Sena. Raj Thackeray couldn't. Can Shinde do that? But all these things are hypothetical at this stage. Let's see. Narvekar has met Shinde. What are the demands?
Right.
We'll come to know a bit later.
And he was also feeling sidelined for some time.
He was sidelined, of course, but then, see, he was made the legislative party leader. He was given urban development. So even if he's feeling that, okay, he is not the natural successor and Aditya Thackeray has become a successor, but that's the reality of politics, and he has been a minister for last over 2 years. So suddenly what has happened?
Right. Another question from Rohan Navalkar. Again, he's one of our members. He wants to know, is Congress going to be in alliance with the NCP and Shiv Sena for BMC polls? And it seems every week Congress's stance changes, that it will, it won't.
In BMC polls, I would say today's circumstances, again, no, but even about 10 days back, I was sitting with the Shiv Sena MP and I was talking about this. And I was told that Shiv Sena is also, because, from this side, Bhai Jagtap, these people have been saying that we want to go separately.
Right.
So there's this sense of uncertainty in the Shiv Sena anyway, that whether NCP, the Congress would come with them or not. But gradually the Shiv Sena was also getting to, getting more inclined to going alone or with the NCP. The Shiv Sena itself is not very, comfortable going with the Congress this time.
Okay.
So I don't think, as it looks like, I mean, in politics you never know, but what I am told by leaders of these both parties, that alliance will not happen in the BMC polls.
But Chandrakant Patil has also said in politics you never know.
Yeah.
So Omkar Datpe, he wants to know, after Uddhav Thackeray's failure in keeping the party MLAs together, how would you gauge the possibility of a Shiv Sena win in the crucial BMC elections?
Depends. Right now, if there is a split, if the party goes out of power, anything happens, it will have a huge bearing on the BMC election. Right. Shiv Sena was looking pretty comfortable until this happened. So before this MLC election, it was like MVA was kind of working as a group, and you saw, and you could sense some kind of arrogance creeping in Shiv Sena leaders. So before MLC polls, you could hear Sanjay Raut talking about, that we don't have any number, we don't have surplus votes to give to Congress. So Congress has to fend for itself. Congress would manage its numbers. So the MVA was totally split even before the MLC polls. Each for himself and herself.
Right.
So let's see what happens in future now.
And Ronak Shukla wants to know, any chance of Shinde getting back to Shiv Sena even if MVA remains in power after this episode is over?
Well, you can't rule out anything. I mean, it's Shiv Sena, but we have just spoken about how Sachin Pilot came back. And I don't know what Narvekar has to offer Eknath Shinde. So you have this rumor mills going, everybody is talking about, probably Uddhav Thackeray will step aside and ask Eknath Shinde to kind of take over. I don't see that happening. But then, what can the Shiv Sena offer Shinde? Now, if Shiv Sena agrees that fine, Uddhav Thackeray will step aside and let there be a BJP Shiv Sena government led by, say, Devendra Fadnavis, Shinde will agree. But then, is that going to happen the way Shinde wants? Because he has been saying things very clearly. And other Sena MLAs we have been in touch with, they are also under the impression that the idea is to somehow bring the BJP and Shiv Sena together. And Eknath Shinde is working in that direction. But will Uddhav Thackeray agree? I mean, we have discussed, he may not. So what's the way out? It's a very fluid situation. I mean, right now I'm not in a position to say anything definitely.
And another of our members, he wants to know who gains from this chaos in the long run. Will BJP be able to gain more popularity in Maharashtra?
Of course, BJP will be the gainer. In the next BMC election, you will see them doing very well. Because if this government goes, of course, the party will be in total chaos. I mean, the Shiv Sena. And BJP in the last election, in fact, BJP was, I don't remember, it was just a few seats short of Sena. So BJP will be the gainer for sure, be it the BMC election or the assembly election. If they are able to pull down the government, I would be tempted to think that BJP may not even want to install a government which will comprise 50 MLAs from different parties, independents, unless they have a solid bloc from the Sena supporting them. So if elections happen today, even today, BJP may end up as a gainer. Because you see this MVA totally split. Even today, people are asking Sharad Pawar, what are you going to do? Right. Sharad Pawar is saying it's the Sena's internal matter.
Yes, I was just
you play on power play or power play, you can say. But you can win that way once in a while. Every time you can't win like that. So Pawar could bring these parties together because he has good equations with all these party leaders. But to manage rebel Sena MLAs for Uddhav Thackeray is quite a difficult task, quite a big ask from Pawar. Because Pawar is not part of that party. I mean, he cannot get into the internal affairs and influence those people.
He also called it an internal matter of the Shiv Sena.
Yeah, because there is not much Pawar can do here. It's between Uddhav Thackeray and his people.
Right. Aditya, another of our members, he's recently taken the membership. He wants to know Karnataka, Rajasthan and now Maharashtra. BJP succeeded in making government in Karnataka, failed in Rajasthan. What are the chances in Maharashtra?
As you see, as the numbers go, BJP has a very good chance. But I'm repeating again and again.
It's very fluid.
It's fluid unless Shiv Sena or the Eknath Shinde bloc gets a substantial number of MLAs on its side. BJP won't really move or make any move to stay clear or to basically bring down the government and try to form the government. So the immediate objective of the BJP would be to somehow ensure that the government goes down under its own contradictions.
Right.
Let the Sena MLAs walk out and let them bring the government in a minority, then have president's rule, and then try and see whether you can cobble up the numbers. So that will be the BJP's immediate priority. Only after that happens that the BJP will think of installing an alternative government.
Right.
But right now, BJP is banking on the Shiv Sena MLAs to bring it down. In terms of numbers we have discussed, and it's a big deal for the BJP with 106 MLAs to get 134 votes in the Legislative Council elections. It is a big leap.
Right.
But again, from 134 to reach 150, 155 to have the comfortable majority, you need a substantial block of MLAs from other parties.
Well, I think people really want to know what is happening in Maharashtra. I'm getting a few more questions, so I'll just ask those also. Kunal wants to know, Kunal Sehgal, what will be the impact of political instability in a major state like Maharashtra?
Well, it's very bad timing. In Maharashtra, again, you see the COVID resurfacing now. And when you have the entire government trying to save itself, I mean, who is going to focus on COVID management? And economy, it's not just about India's economy. In Maharashtra's economy, again, if your government's focus is entirely somewhere else, this government has been talking about this much investment coming in, that much investment coming in, but entire focus goes away.
Right. We have talked about Eknath Shinde. Another of our viewer, he wants to know, has Shinde emerged as the next most powerful leader in Sena after Uddhav Thackeray?
He was. I mean, after I would say Aditya Thackeray, in fact, he was a very, very important leader. But then, people like Narvekar, people like Anil Desai, I mean, these people, there emerged a coterie around Uddhav Thackeray, also people who were calling the shots. So Shinde was a minister. He was leading the legislature party. Still, his influence in the party was, at least he thought, was waning because, it was Aditya Thackeray calling the shots, if not Uddhav Thackeray directly. So there was an alternative power center already there. So he was feeling sidelined. To say that he will emerge as a very powerful leader now will depend on how this crisis pans out.
Aditya Gharge wants to know, what are the percentage of BJP now that it will be able to get back in power? What percentage do you think in terms of probability?
It's very hypothetical, but I would really think that BJP, given the situation that you are, BJP may be able to bring the government down. And if you bring the government down, it won't be much difficult for the BJP to form the government, say, couple of months later, 3 months later. Because if they were, as they claim, if they were able to split 21 MLAs from the MVA camp in the MLC election, when you are able to basically convince that, okay, there is a president's rule and BJP can form the government, many, many more will come to you. So it won't be much difficult. For the BJP, the immediate task is to ensure that this government falls. And that depends on the kind of a strength Shinde is able to show. Can he pull it off? So everything depends on Shinde now.
And how do you see the role of the Congress in this entire episode?
Congress, now irony is Kamal Nath has been sent, is being sent as an observer to Maharashtra.
Right.
Now Kamal Nath, when he was the chief minister, he could not even see this Scindia rebellion coming. And his government went down. Now he is being sent to Maharashtra to take care of Maharashtra Scindia. That is, not exactly Eknath Shinde, but point is, again, that those rebels in Maharashtra. Can you imagine you have your state party president leaving for Nagpur while counting is still on? And the kind of mismanagement of BJP. Now you have Bhai Jagtap, who is Mumbai Regional Congress Committee chief. He is the second candidate. And then, he gets almost as many votes as, your first preferential vote should have gone to your first candidate, Handore. Ultimately, the entire election came down to, although it was between Bhai Jagtap and Lad, but finally when the Congress votes got split, which leadership are we talking about in Maharashtra? Congress has 44 MLAs. Handore got 19, Bhai Jagtap got 22. 3 MLAs again gone missing. And then in the second preference vote, Jagtap wins.
Right.
Not Handore. That tells you about the state of affairs in the Congress there.
Another question that has come from many viewers is, what is Shiv Sena's strategy in terms of not only BMC elections, but their entire Hindutva, how they have been focusing on that again? Is it because they feel that the BJP is taking that away from them? Yeah,
so you saw that was one of the regions Aditya Thackeray went to Ayodhya. But then what you hear from the Sena leaders here
Right.
in Mumbai, I mean, they were consciously trying to basically expand their vote base. So you saw Aditya Thackeray, even during the UP election, he went to UP to campaign, he went to Ayodhya. Basically, it was an attempt to kind of, reach out to migrants, basically, by going to UP.
Right.
So a party which was founded on the entire philosophy of, anti-migrant philosophy is back to wooing them, and very aggressively. Then one Sena MP was actually telling me that, the Muslims also, now at least this is what Shiv Sena leaders believe, that Muslims are also coming to actually accept Sena's moderate line.
Okay.
And they were trying to reach out to the, the middle classes by being moderate. So the Shiv Sena of yore, I mean, where they would be digging up pitches and cricket pitches and doing all nonsense, they were basically seen as the rowdy elements. To change that image, Aditya Thackeray was trying that. But in the process, he was getting, flack, and there was a backlash from within the party. And so he was trying to change that image slightly for BMC elections. So it was a tightrope walk these guys were trying to do, while trying to change the Sena's image, at the same time trying to carry on with the core vote bank. So this was what they were trying. And now that this has happened, and Eknath Shinde is trying to become the face of the Hindutva elements in the Shiv Sena, the real Shiv Sena face. And let's see how it plays out now.
Well, thank you so much for this detailed analysis. Also, please follow our correspondent, our Mumbai correspondent, Purva Chitnis, who has been keeping an eye on this entire episode, and she will be giving updates. Do follow her stories on the print website, and as well as follow her videos on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, Nilam.